This is the TJ Hoisington Podcast. Unleash your greatness within.
Hey there, and welcome to the Unleash Your Greatness Within podcast. Hey, listen, I have a quick thought about the shakeup at Twitter and Elon Musk taking it over. Let's talk about that.
You already know. My passion and my mission to help you unleash your greatness within. My heart goes out to the underdogs that's on their way. If you think you can go from good to great, okay, let's motivate. GreatnessWithin.com. TJ Hoisington. GreatnessWithin.com.
Okay, so listen, I've been hearing a lot of news, I've been reading a lot of posts and so forth about Elon Musk taking over Twitter. And let's just talk about that from a leadership standpoint and a culture standpoint. I have a couple notes here, but let me just tell you, what you're seeing now play out on the world stage is exactly what happens in small teams and companies and organizations around the world every single day. So let's back up and let's look at what's really happening. I interviewed on my podcast a couple years ago the legendary author and business leader Ken Blanchard, who wrote back in the day, the great book called 1 Minute Manager. And I'm telling you, one thing he said in that interview is that all leadership is mirrored throughout the organization. What's rewarded, what's disciplined consistently helps shape the culture. And so there was an old culture at Twitter, and now you have a new leader that comes in, and because leadership is mirrored throughout the organization, you're starting to see the shakeup of a new culture. And if the new leader that comes in has a different perception on how to lead and how to drive performance and so forth, if you don't feel comfortable, just like any team that you've ever been on, if you don't feel comfortable with the values of the leader or the values of the other players on the team and so forth, you're going to bail. This is normal. But let's dig a little bit deeper. I've seen some reports come out through some postings, but also some journalists who said that the old or original Twitter culture was bloated, oversized, was lazy, and in a sense, self-serving in many ways. And so now you have this new owner that comes in that starts from a belief of meritocracy. Do you know what meritocracy is? It means you get rewarded based on the value you bring to the company. You get, rewarded for the value you bring to the marketplace, that it's performance-based, it's effort-based instead of what equity is or inclusion is to maybe not put enough focus on, effort and performance. Well, that's what Elon Musk believes in. From all what I can tell, he believes in when you show up at a job, you give your best, you give more than you're paid for. Now, hopefully, because I know some of you are going to think this, that leaders treat you right. And I agree with that. Leaders do need to treat you right. But I remember back in the day when Lee Iacocca fired, 36 of his executives when he came in. There is a time and a place that sometimes a culture cannot be changed with the same ingredients that were there that built that culture in the first place. Sometimes the only way a culture can be changed is by changing out maybe some of the elements that participated in building that original culture up. I've seen this over and over because my business as a consulting company has gone into many organizations that have downsized or that have merged with other companies and so forth. And what we're trying to do is bridge a new set of paradigms, a new belief system, and so forth. And from what I'm reading, Elon Musk is trying to turn Twitter into building kind of a startup company mindset, which is you get in, you work your long hours, you work hard, and then you're rewarded in the end. And what he's trying to do is, and this is what's going to happen with every culture, is think about your team that you work on now, or the one you worked on a couple years ago that you didn't like, that you left. Once a leader comes in and changes the culture in a negative way that maybe doesn't share some of the old values, many people will leave. But here's what will happen in response to that. many people will flow into that culture, right? Because they do share those values. And that's all that's going to happen over at Twitter. Here's what's going to happen. The people that don't share that mindset that Elon Musk is bringing in are going to leave, and that's okay. But you know what? There's going to be other people out there that have great skills and are also willing to work hard. And I'm not implying that some of those employees at Twitter before didn't work hard. Okay. Don't mishear what I'm saying here. But there's going to be a new set of people that have a more meritocracy mindset. And they're going to come in and they're going to change things. And that company is going to become more profitable. It's going to be more competitive and so forth, assuming he doesn't have to declare bankruptcy with all the changes that are going on. But I guarantee you, if you let the free enterprise system work, if you let the capitalist system work, and people have personal responsibility and personal accountability, guess what? Things get better. It's the law. It's a natural law. It's the law of the universe. You reap what you sow. And although it might be uncomfortable for Elon Musk to come in and change things, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that ever since someone maybe became a manager over a team they used to work with, and the team doesn't like that person anymore because the leader changes. And let me just say one thing about that. I remember one time flying into a city where I was working with a big company, and the night before I met with the team, I was going to be there all week, I went out to dinner with the CEO. I'm telling you, sitting at dinner with the CEO was wonderful. Just a cool guy, just personable, treated me with respect. I thought, wow, this person has got to be the best person to work for. But then again, I was called in because they were having some culture issues. Wow, let me tell you what happened. The next morning I walk in about 8 a.m. Throughout that morning and early afternoon, I started to see how the CEO was interacting with employees. And I couldn't help but think, what happened to the nice, kind guy that got respect from me by the way he behaved last night at the restaurant versus this guy now that's treating his people with disrespect, that's not listening to his people, that's not asking for information and saying, what do you have? I mean, people naturally want to be in on things. And I notice a change. Here's one piece of advice that I would say to every manager, lead, supervisor, C-level person. The moment you walk through the front door, don't change your personality. You can get respect through showing respect. Now, in the case of Elon Musk, none of us really know what it's like when he walks in. We're hearing a lot of words out there and so forth. But here's what I do know that he's probably doing is he's looking for people that want to get somewhere. And I also have this theory, I don't know if it's correct, but I have this theory that in order to be respected, a leader's got to be liked by the people he serves. It doesn't mean they have to be best friends. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying he has to be approachable. He has to have a connection with the people he's supposed to be serving, right? I think you would agree with that. And I just call that being liked. But the truth is, I have this theory that the higher your mastery or your legendary status, you're the best in the world status, the less need it is to be liked in order to have influence. I'll give you a case example. Maybe Elon Musk is one of those guys. Definitely Steve Jobs was one of those guys. No, people didn't really like his personality. He didn't connect well with people and so forth. But around the world, he had a strong influence over beliefs, cultures, performance, and so forth. Why? Because he was bigger than life, if you will. But that's the 1% of leaders out there that actually have that. For most leaders, it's going to require you to come through the front door, show respect to people, and treat people with kindness and respect. I just interviewed Mauro Porcini, the chief design officer of Pepsi, who on my podcast, the Unleash Your Greatness with Him podcast, and one of the things he said, what did he say? The subtitle of his book is Humans in Love with Humans. And I think that's the key. Leaders that really get ahead are those that show respect. But who knows what Elon Musk is right now? Right now, he's shaking things up because he's going to rebuild. And that's probably no different than what the U.S. military does when you go to boot camp. They shake you up. It feels very uncomfortable, but then they build you up after that and they kind of reset the paradigm. He is in a place right now, Elon Musk, where he's going to reset the paradigm. And yes, leadership, his influence is going to mirror throughout the organization. And we will see in time together whether his style of reformation and leadership is going to lead to a better place in the future. So let's stay tuned together and see what happens. But here's one piece of advice I'd have for Elon Musk. Hey, if you're going to have high expectations for performance for people, just make sure you bring up the warmth and empathy at the same time. So I would think not everybody's going to have a face-to-face conversation with Elon Musk. So what does it need to be? It's going to be the people that Elon puts in charge, in leadership positions, need to know how to treat people with respect, yet expect, I don't like using the word demand, but expect accountability at the same time. Okay? So how do we be nice and warmth and empathy, yet have a certain level of accountability and enforcement? That's always a fine line for leaders. But listen, if you've worked in a team where you were equal with everybody else and then all of a sudden you got plucked out and was told you're going to be the manager of that team, one piece of advice for you, if you're young in your career, don't become a jerk, okay? Show respect, listen to people, seek advice from them, right? Those are powerful things that you can do as a leader, and it doesn't diminish your value. In fact, I would tell you that it increases your value. Okay, I hope some of this gibberish made sense. All right, now go out there, be the best leader you can be, and go out there and unleash your greatness within.
Podcast listeners, thanks for listening. You've taken time out of your schedule, and I really appreciate it. Now do me a favor. If you like what you heard, star it. Thanks. Now go unleash your greatness within.
GreatnessWithin.com